Hello students of class 9. See, this is your English language, English literature book, textbook, treasure trove, a collection of ICSE poems and short stories, right? Till now I have taught poem number 2, Cold Within, Bengal Sailors, After Bengal, right? Now today I am going to start poem number 5, Television. Let's see on page number 20. See this poem number 5, Television, composed by Roald Dahl, right? Now, see, this is the picture of the poet Roald Dahl. Okay. He has composed this poem, Television. First of all, we will discuss about the poet. See on page number 20 in your textbook. Here, let's see about the poet Roald Dahl. Here, Roald Dahl is one of the most prolific of the modern writers in English. He was a British novelist, short story writer, poet, screenwriter, fighter pilot, and has a large fan following among young readers. Here, the poem Television takes a comic look at a serious problem among young children today. The poem warns us about the dangers of excessive television watching. It tells us that the TV robs the mind of the power of imagination and creativity. Dahl, in his characteristic exaggerated style, warns that we will become zombies if we keep staring uninterrupted at the television for long hours. He advises us to read books, for this will enable us to discover deeper levels of joy and find fulfillment in life and open a whole new and exciting world for us. Before starting this poem, we will also discuss about the poem here. Television by Dahl is a long didactic poem written in a light tone with a message that is relevant in our times. It is an earnest appeal to parents to warn their children away from watching television to reading of books in their craze for the idiot books. Children have lost their innocence. They have become unruly and disobedient. They are no longer interested in the words of fantasy in children's stories. The poet is saddened that watching television is in excess makes children dull and unimaginative. So, the parents must throw the television set out of their homes and should replace it by a set of books. They will at first face bitter opposition, but later they will be thanked for this thoughtful good action. Dahl's oppositions to television watching is because of its being a passive process during which we are not as actively engaged with the material as we are during the process of reading. This activity makes our brain slow and strained, right? Let's see the textbook. See on page number 21, here poem number 5, Television, composed by Roald Dahl. See, the most important thing we have learned so far as children are concerned is never let them near your television set, or better still, just don't install the idiotic thing at all. In the first 6 lines, in the first stanza, the poet says what the poet wants to say. In this opening lines of this poem, in an abrupt and dramatic way, the poet addresses the parents to convince their children about the negative impact of watching television on their minds. He says that they have learned an important lesson about television. It is that television is an idiot box, that it makes the viewers stupid and dull. Therefore, the children should not be allowed to come near the television set and view its programs. The poet adds that the television set should not be installed inside our houses at all. That's why he is saying, just don't install. Here poet advises the parents, they don't install this idiotic box in your house, right? Here he is saying, never let. Here the poet is never allow. He is saying, here he is in the forcefully said, never allowed. Install, that means to fix, to set. Or here, idiotic thing. Here, idiotic thing, that is TV, means television. It is called idiotic as it makes us idiots, right? In almost every house we have watched them gaping at the screen. They loll and slow and long about and stir until their eyes pop out. Last week in someone's place we saw a dozen ice balls on the floor. See, in this stanza, what the poet wants to say here. Here poet gives a journal observation here. He says that it has been observed that children sit or stand before the television set lazily and stare at the screen continuously. Here, stare, that means to look directly without blinking their eyes. That means he says that children go on watching television until their eyes seems to come out. The poet humorously says that a week ago he saw a dozen eyeballs of children lying on the floor as a result of excessive TV watching. Now, the next. They sit and stare and stare and sit until they are hypnotized by it, until they are absolutely drunk with all the shocking, ghastly junk. All the ghastly junk here. Junk means useless stuff, and still that means silent. They never fight or kick or punch. They leave you free to cook the lunch and wash the dishes in the sink. But did you ever stop to think? To wonder just exactly what this does to your beloved heart? Right? It rots the sense in the head. It kills imagination dead. See what the poet want to say here? Here, what he's saying, children, go on staring at the television screen continuously. Here, they sit and stare and stare and sit until they are hypnotized by it. Here, poet is saying that the children go on staring at the television screen. They seem to be hypnotized by it. But what they get out of this activity is useless and harmful stuff. The poet admits that parents have some advantage in letting the children watching television. The children remain quiet and do not disturb them. They do not climb out of the windows, nor do they indulge in fight with another. They leave their parents free to cook lunch or wash utensils lying in the sink. That's why he's saying they never fight or kick or punch. They leave you free to cook the lunch and wash the dishes in the sink. But did you ever stop to think? Here, the poet is saying that. The poet is saying here that the children get a chance to free from their children. A poet cautions against the inherent danger in getting such freedom by the parents. Right? Again, what the poet says here, the poet is saying to wonder just exactly what this does to your beloved thought. It rots the sense in the head. It kills the imagination dead. Here the poet is saying, thought, that is small child, and rots, that is decay, and clog and cluster. Here the poet is saying, this is the curse of the poem. The poet uses all the capitals to emphasize this point. He asks parents if they have ever considered what harm it does to their children. They have their children when they continue to watch television for a very long time continuously. He says that's why he says it rots the sense in the head and it kills imagination dead. It is here. This is and should be the major concern of all parents. Television watching is a passive activity. It receives everything as it is. It blocks fresh thinking. So it makes the child viewers dull. He cannot distinguish between the real and the fantastic. His brain becomes as soft as cheese, and he loses the power of think and imagine things. This has been confirmed by many independent research surveys. Okay, it clocks and cultures up the mind. It makes the child so dull and blind. He can no longer understand a fantasy and fair land. His brain becomes as soft as cheese. His power of thinking rust and freeze. He cannot think, he only sees. Here, what he said. In a very simple way, the poet wants to the parents to protect their children from by seeing the television. Here the poet says that this is the crush of the poem. Here poet says that it makes the child viewers dull. It makes the children dull. That's why the children unable to distinguish between the real and the fantastic. His child's brain becomes as soft as cheese, and child loses the power to think and imagine things. That's why the poet want to all of us, all the parents, to protect, to save their children by seeing this television. Right. Now see the next. All right, you will cry. All right, you will see. But if we take the set away, what shall we do to entertain our darling children? Please explain. We will answer this by asking you, what use the darling ones to do? How use they keep themselves content before this monster was invented? Here, this line, the poet is aware of parents' objection. He knows that the parents will ask him, if the television set is removed here, there will be no means left with them to entertain their children. They will like to know as to how to entertain them. Here the poet retorts by asking a rhetorical question as to how they used to entertain themselves as children. Before this monster that is television was invented, perhaps they have forgotten. As children, they used to read and read and read. The nursery shelves were full of books. Surprisingly, they would spend half of their lives reading books. Reading books was the only and the main source of entertainment in the past. That's why the poet is saying, have you forgotten? Don't you know? We will say it very loud and slow. They used to read. They did read and read. And read and read and then proceed to read some books, some more. Read Scott, Gasgons. One half their lives was reading books. The nursery shelves had looks glow. Books cluttered up the nursery floor, and in the bedroom and the bed, more books were waiting to be read. Such wondrous, fine, fantastic tales of dangerous gypsies, queen and whales, and treasure isles and distant shore. Here, what the poet is saying, the parents have forgotten. He said, when the parents were children, they used to read and read and read. The nursery shelves were full of books. Surprisingly, they would spend half of their lives reading books. Reading books was the only and the main source of entertainment in the past, in the parents' time. The poets here reminds the parents that the room of children were full of books in the past. In the past time, the children's rooms were full of books, because in that time there was no television set. These books contained wonderful stories. He said these books contained wonderful stories about huge monsters, gypsies, queens and princes, whales, treasure island. That's why he's saying in that time, such wondrous, fine, fantastic tales of dancers, gypsies, queen and whales, and treasure isle and distant shores. In that time. Now he said, in some of these stories, smugglers and sea robbers used to operate in ports with covered oars. There were stories about elephants, where smugglers rowed and with muffled oars, and pirates wearing purple pants, and sailing ships and elephants and cannibals scorching round the pot, staring away at something hot. It smells so good. What can it be? Good treasures. It's Penelope. Here, the poet says that at that time, There were stories about elephants and cannibals, and the cannibals used to eat very sweet smell dishes named after Penelope, the faithful wife of Odyssey in Homer's epic poem, the Odyssey. The children who read about it wonder what the dish could be. Okay, students, now I want to stop it here, and this poem will be continued in the next video. Very soon we will meet in another video. Okay.